So yesterday I was on my way to the No Kings protest in Knoxville, Tennessee, when I got the news that Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband were both killed, and Senator John Hoffman and his wife were wounded. And the first thought that went through my head was, I'm not surprised this is Donald Trump's America. And the more I thought about that, the more that it got under my skin, because I should have been completely rattled and I should have been like completely in utter disbelief, but I really wasn't, because of the political climate that Donald Trump has created. And I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about the way that I go about things here on my channel so everyone will understand. There are some times that I've done breaking news episodes, and I'll chime in as the news is breaking and react to it in real time. And a lot of times I'll call on Coach D, and he and I'll sit around and react to it. We did that when Musk and Trump was spatting, and Musk threw Trump under the bus. We came on here and went live and had a good time reacting to that. But when it's something of such a serious nature like this, I'm the type of person that I like to wait a little bit before that I come on here and start talking, because I'm not a journalist. I'm just a guy sitting in his chair reacting to the world around him. And so before I start throwing stuff out into the world, I just want to have a better understanding of it. So I'm going to play this clip here. Out of all the clips I've seen, this is the one that I feel like I want to play the most. This is Governor Tim Walz. I think he had a lot to say right here in this short clip, but a lot of stuff that really needed to be said. So let's hear him and what he had to say, and then we're going to talk more about this.
This was an act of targeted political violence. Peaceful discourse is the foundation of our democracy. We don't settle our differences with violence or at gunpoint. In the state of Minnesota, and as recently as last week, in the most closely divided state legislature in the country, we sat down, we worked things out, we debated, we shook hands and compromised, and we served the state of Minnesota together. We proved that it's possible, even in these politically charged times, to find compromise and adhere to the principles of democracy and civil discourse. We must all, Minnesota and across the country, stand against all forms of political violence. At this precipice moment we're on, this tragic act here in Minnesota should serve as a reminder to all of us. The democracy and the debates in the halls of Congress, in state houses, in school boards, is a way to settle our differences peacefully and move society to a better place.
You know, folks, I know we're truly living through some of the darkest times in American history right now, and I know it can feel really hopeless. So I just want to say before I keep rolling to everyone out there, always be sure to take care of your mental health and put that first. Take care of yourself, unplug, take a break, spend time with your family, do whatever you have to do to get through this crazy world, because it's a crazy world, unfortunately. And I always tell people, when you tune out and you come back, you don't have to back up and listen to the 15 videos I made while you were gone. Just jump back in when you feel like it, and let's keep moving forward. And yeah, it is kind of raining on me a little bit here in East Tennessee, but I just would rather be sitting outside than to be sitting in my room at the moment. So yeah, folks, this is truly a dark time, and I think the part that really tormented me the most was the fact that I wasn't really as surprised. I'm not shocked, though, when you have a cult running the country. And I want to say that this is not about Republicans versus Democrats, because reasonable Republicans and reasonable Democrats stand against political violence. But what this is about is a cult that is now in charge, and a cult that is absolutely fueled on lies and conspiracy theories. And of course, that is going to play into the hands of people who have a lot of mental illness, and is going to go out there and try to take matters into their own hands. When you have a president who always addresses the other side as the radical left lunatics and calls them the enemy from within, and says that they should be rooted out like vermin, when you have that type of language constantly, he can't even acknowledge Memorial Day, that he doesn't make it about him, and that he doesn't lash out his political opponents. He can't talk about anything. He can't wish someone a happy Father's Day. He can't wish someone a happy Mother's Day. That he doesn't turn it to make it all about the enemy from within. And people are constantly hearing that we're the enemy from within, and they're also constantly hearing that we're trying to erase their way of life out of the history books, that we're trying to do away with their kind of person. And that's not true at all. It's all lies and bullshit, but people buys into it. And Donald Trump has gave people out there something to feel like they're fighting for. There are people that are struggling to get through this world. They're trying to make ends meet, And as they're going along, he makes them feel like they're fighting something. When we sit here and talk about how ridiculous these culture wars are, we see them for how ridiculous they are. But to them, they see it as something they've been called upon to fight. When they went to the Capitol on January 6th, they were there to do what Donald Trump said. And since then, what have we seen? We've saw him make people like that heroes. We've saw him pardon people like that. People that were violent criminals beforehand were violent criminals on that day and were violent criminals once he pardoned them. We saw him make them into heroes. So what do you think's going to happen when you got a guy here that suddenly starts targeting Democratic lawmakers? Do you think that guy thinks he's ever going to face any accountability? No, because he's going to look around and go, hey, I'll get a pardon. I'll get let off with this because Trump let the rest of them get away with it. That's where the true danger in all of this has lied from day one. But it's always them saying to us, you guys need to turn down the temperature in the room. It's not us turning it up. I've always made that argument. It's not us that are turning it up. We're sitting over here condemning political violence. You take a look at what was happening in Los Angeles. Gavin Newsom said constantly, anyone that breaks the law, anyone that comes after law enforcement, anyone that loots, anyone that burns, you're going to, face punishment to the fullest extent of the law. Not one time did he call those people victims. Not one time did he call them patriots and hostages. Not one time did he change the words to the national anthem and sing it with them. He didn't do that type of lunacy because that's not the kind of people we are. So stop telling us to be the ones to turn down the temperature in the room when every manifesto we read always goes right back to the doorstep of Donald J. Trump every goddamn time. And then we're told, turn down the temperature in the room. Hell, even the dude that took a shot at him was somebody that was drunk on his Kool-Aid. It's so ridiculous that we're here. We should have never been here. But this is what happens when you let a cult take over, a cult that is fueled on conspiracy theories. They don't do things the way that we do it here on the channel. They don't wait till they get the information. They don't wait till they get the facts. They immediately start spreading conspiracy theories. And what does that do? It just plays right into the hands of the kind of person that went out and done this. Because they buy into those conspiracy theories. They believe them. They fall for it hook, line, and sinker over and over again. And that type of rhetoric does nothing but continue to fuel the fire. And yeah, Donald Trump came out and made a statement about it, said that he doesn't, he will always, stand against political violence, whatever, but he's never done it in the past. And I don't, whenever he gives these, whenever he makes these posts that looks like someone else typed it for him, I don't hold my breath on those. And I don't put no weight on those because if you remember when he wished Joe Biden well after Joe Biden announced that he had an aggressive form of prostate cancer, once he wished him well, within the next day he was already saying that he deserved it and that, he didn't feel sorry for him because he was a bad guy. So just because he put out some post and called this down doesn't mean jack shit, because if you remember, he stood there and made the video where he told the people of January 6th that they didn't represent his movement, which, he was standing there saying that not wanting to. And then the minute he was able to call them patriots and hostages again, he was doing it. And I would not be one bit shocked if he doesn't call off, the manhunt for this dude, and it's just ridiculous. I would not be stunned if this dude doesn't get a pardon and become a hero and become an anchor on Fox News. They're the ones that needs to turn down the temperature because they're the ones that's turned it up and they're the ones that's put us in this boat. And I'm always going to call it that way. It's a true shame that we're here. But I'm not at all shocked. I think, and that part bothers me more so than anything else is the fact that I should be shocked, but I'm not. Because since the election, I've had more death threats just since the election than I did before. And me and my family is always on high alert, and I'm strapped everywhere I go because of it. And I never was that person before, but I am now. I sit back and think back on my life, and I think about all the years I spent playing music in some of the rowdiest, roughneck, redneck places in my part of the world, and I never carried anything more than a ball bat. I had a ball bat at one point behind the amplifier, but that was about it. And nowadays, I can't even go to the dollar store that I'm not ready to go because of the crazy world that we live in. We're always looking over our shoulder, but that didn't stop people from getting out and protesting yesterday. That didn't stop people from standing up against this fascism, and it can't. So my heart goes out to the representatives of Minnesota. My heart goes out to everyone out there that is having to deal with this. And we'll continue to push forward. We're on the right side of history. But to all the people that aren't paying attention, to all the people that don't realize just how serious it's gotten and what's really going on in the world, sometimes I say I envy it, but I really don't. because I would much rather be plugged in, regardless of how drastic it gets. I would much rather be plugged in, aware of what's going on, than to be completely asleep at the wheel. So we'll keep putting in the work. We'll keep standing up for what's right. We'll keep standing on the right side of history. But stop telling us to turn down the temperature and go right to Donald Trump's office and tell that motherfucker we said to turn down the temperature, because we're here because of him.